All right, so welcome to another one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. So let's get with it. Let's talk some boxing. I want to talk about Badu Jack. The justifications as to why Badu Jack. I mean, if you want to pretend that you were his manager, this is probably a good video to justify his course of actions here forward, or to even justify why some fighters should fight him and, in theory, steal his belt, right? Because a lot of fans like to downplay Badu Jack, but I like to keep it very transparent and objective in that there's a lot of benefits to dethrone Badu Jack, or if you're a hardcore Badu Jack, there might be reasons why you like Badu Jack's current situation, right? So, just quickly, that Badu Jack has recently been reinstated, right? Because he was a champion in recess at cruiserweight. Badu Jack, man, he's fought a lot of former world champs. I believe he fought like he beat five of those out of the eight that I'll name in a bit if I can remember correctly. Not so much in order, but Badu Jack has a pretty good resume, right? Um, on top of that, I believe Badu Jack, it's debatable if he's a Hall of Famer, right? I mean, he's a three weight division champ, right? First fight in which he became champion is when he fought Durrell, right? Anthony Durrell, a fighter that Caden Plant recently knocked out. He's the former champ that gave David Benavidez his second champion status, right? His two-time champion WBC status at 168. So that's Anthony Durrell. But Badu Jack was the first guy to beat Anthony Durrell. Anthony Durrell, who he had beaten Sakio Bika. Excuse me there. It's a good day. It's a good Saturday. Uh, Sakio Bika, right? And then from there on, I mean, if we want to even go before that, man, that Badu Jack was he beat Alexander Brand, man. He was the first guy to beat him before Andre Ward, right? Even though that fight was, I believe, I'm not sure if it was at a catchweight on Ward's descent to 175 or if it was the full 175, but he beat Alexander Brand, right? Back in the day. Yeah, of course, that was at 168. Then he had beat Porky Medina back in the day. A Porky Medina that Benavides too had fought, right? Some opponents. And so there forward, it was Durrell, Badu Jack had fought, what's his name? Lucian Bute. He had fought, who else? George Groves, right? George Groves, who made a name for himself after winning the World Boxing Super Series, right? In which he beat Eubank Jr. And in that series, I believe Groves beaten Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. had beaten DeGale. DeGale, another guy that Badu Jack had fought, but that fight was a draw. In that fight, man, I remember DeGale had lost his two front teeth. Very good fight. And of course, he had fought Nathan Cleverly, another former champ, right? Who else did Badu Jack fight in that run? Yeah, he fought what's his name? Jean Pascal. But he had lost to Jean Pascal. And I forgot if that was already on his uprising to 175. He lost that fight against Jean Pascal. I believe that it was a majority decision lost. Um, One fight, obviously, that I give a lot of praise to in Badu Jack, just by like grit warrior in itself, is when he had his head split open against Marcus Brown, right? In that fight, Marcus Brown had a shutout, but even in the second half of those rounds, with that gash, man, that gash. I mean, who could fight in those situations, right? Again, look at guys like Josh Kelly, or look at cats like Tim Zhu, who had, in those fights they felt very, very uncomfortable. But I kid you not, man, that gash that Badu Jack was a lot more hardcore, man, than what Tim Zhu had with Fondora or what Josh Kelly had with Avanesian. Just trust me, man. That's not a gash that none of you would want to have in a professional fight under the bright lights, right? And then so what? Forward, then Badu Jack had fought Adonis Stevenson, man. I believe that fight was a majority majority decision lost for Badu Jack, but he fought that guy Adonis Stevenson, man, who's who can crack, man. Very very heavy handed southpaw, man. Very very heavy handed. And then who else? Let's see, Badu Jack. I think after that, that's when Badu Jack just went up the ranks, up to cruiserweight. And so again, three weight divisions, right? And then he had beaten Makabu. Badu Jack was making defenses, I believe. And so, anyways, man, Badu Jack is definitely a guy that would benefit you on your resume should you dethrone Badu Jack, who's again just been reinstated as WBC champion. The same situation that what's his name, uh, Tony Bellew was in, right? Because Tony Bellew had beaten Makabu, but then he went into a champion in recess status because he wanted to fight David Haye in two fights, right? David Haye, who at that time, man, he was just totally out of it, man, right? Lost those fights. But again, Usyk, who unfortunately said that even what's his name, that Tony Bellew was one of his toughest fight, if not probably the toughest fight of his career. He said it himself. That was Usyk. So remember, Usyk could have already just went to heavyweight, but he wanted that fight with Tony Bellew, right? So that's that. It's not so much a complete fair comparison, right? Because Badu Jack actually fought Makabu, right? Whereas, no, how do we say this? How do I say this? No, no. Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. I was getting confused there because they were both reinstated regardless. No, they weren't reinstated. I'm sorry. Badu Jack has recently been reinstated, but Tony Bellew was a champion in recess, but he lost to Usyk, right? Because Usyk was really the guy who unified all the belts with Murat Gassiev. Sorry, man, I bore you with all this information, but I'm trying to justify that Badu Jack is a legit player, man. I don't buy all that bullshit that he's a paper champ as other fans like to troll, but he's not, man. He actually fought for a belt, man. He wasn't elevated to that status or he didn't get emailed that belt, right? So so Badu Jack right now, who's older than Artur Beterbiev, right? Because they're saying that Artur Beterbiev, like, why would he move up? These stupid reasons, right? I don't know. They just, I guess, fans they believe that Artur Beterbiev has been in more wars than Badu Jack, even though Beterbiev's never sustained an injury like a Badu Jack. An Artur Beterbiev, who right now, if he were to fight Badu Jack, as a matter of fact, I even have Bibo. If they were to fight Badu Jack, they would dethrone Badu Jack. Okay, so again, I'm trying to justify the reason why Badu Jack makes sense. In fact, if I was managing Badu Jack, I'd be looking for the unifications with Surdo Ramirez and Jay Opataya, right? Opataya, who's a top dog at cruiserweight. He's got the ring, he's got the lineal belt, right? Pretty good fights against Breedis, right? In those two fights. So Opataya is a legit player, man. Probably the second coming, not so much in light heavyweight, but as far as like that, how would you say that Samoan genetic, right? He's like, I guess I wouldn't say the 2.0 version of Left Hook Tua because I mean Left Hook, man. Tua was someone else, man. Another badass at heavyweight. But of course, Opataya is at cruiserweight. As a matter of fact, Opataya could probably fight at heavyweight when the time comes, okay? But right now we could still focus on cruiserweight. So the fight that we do want, right? We want Surdo Ramirez versus Jay Opataya. But again, the winner of that fight is going to want Badu Jack for his last remaining WBC belt. Don't be hypocrites, guys. Don't downplay now the last belt because that would still be undisputed, right? That means that Surdo Ramirez, after this fight with Dorticos, he can legit call for Badu Jack for unification. And fans will justify that. No fans are going to say, nah, Surdo Ramirez doesn't got to fight Badu Jack because Badu Jack's old. Nobody's going to be talking about that. The same thing with Opataya, right? If Ovataya beats his next opponent, or if he were to beat Surdo Ramirez, why not fight Badu Jack for that last strap? My point is that Opataya and Surdo Ramirez are not going to downplay Badu Jack because of his age. That doesn't make any sense, nor I can't imagine why that. I don't know why fans would even think like that, man. You guys have some agendas. I mean, if the context is to talk about, because I said it myself, and I even got other fans to admit, I would also like to see Benavidez dethrone Badu Jack. I would have Benavidez beating Badu Jack, or who knows, man. Maybe some fans are actually fear that Benavidez could lose to Badu Jack. Straight up, man. I don't understand why you guys wouldn't want that fight. Check it out, man. Really, get the head out, get your head out of other people's asses, man, and just open your eyes for a second. If David Benavidez and his team are entertaining the idea to not just fight at cruiserweight and heavyweight, they said it themselves, but to entertain a fight with Zurdo Ramirez, all right? So then, if you want to fight with Zurdo Ramirez, that means, technically speaking, you would have no problem with unifying with Zurdo Ramirez. Let me say that again. If you want to fight Zurdo Ramirez down the line at cruiserweight, that means you're also in agreement that you would want unification with Zurdo Ramirez. So what does that mean by unification, right? How else would you unify with Zurdo Ramirez? And let's leave Opataya out of the mix. That means you need a belt, right? So who else has a belt right now that's not Zurdo or Opataya? That's Baru Jack, right? So doesn't it make more sense if you dethrone Baru Jack, you not only boost your resume, you become a champion the legit way in a title fight, and now you've got a belt to unify with Zurdo Ramirez. Three reasons why it would make sense to go with Baru Jack than to wait or cloud chase Zurdo Ramirez. I'm helping real Benavides fans out, right? If you want the best for Benavides, if you want him to make the most money, then a unification with Zurdo Ramirez, because a lot of you guys aren't even being honest. You say you like the idea of Benavides calling out Zurdo, but you don't want him to fight Zurdo right now. Again, Benavides said, if I can't get the Bivol fight, I'll fight Zurdo Ramirez. Like, fans forget that, like a bunch of softies, man. So what? We're going to wait for the trilogy to end, right? Until next year, probably like around April, right? Because Undisputed's tied up. We don't even know if we're going to get the Callum Smith fight this year. It's highly likely that we won't get that fight, guys. Another another guy that what Canelo beat both Plant and Callum Smith. Gvozdik was a sparring partner for. I mean, come on, man. I don't even know. I can't tell when guys are trolling. I'm telling you, if the PBC got the loot, to Jose Benavides Sr., please, man, if you're listening, mention Baru Jack as another alternative to Zurdo Ramirez. As a matter of fact, guys, if some of you are truly insecure that Benavides can lose some fights at cruiserweight, well, in theory, the easy route would be Baru Jack. Because a lot of fans are actually picking Zurdo to beat Benavides right now. I got that fight 50-50, by the way. Benavides versus Zurdo, 50-50. Maybe at one point I was leaning 60-40 to Zurdo, but again, activity makes a difference. Experience makes a difference. So, I don't know. For some reason, and age makes a difference, right? So I actually have Benavides 50-50 right now with Zurdo Ramirez. What about Benavides versus Baru Jack? I have Benavides 60-40 to beat Baru Jack. Don't focus too much on Baru Jack's previous accomplishments at the lower weights. Because I notice right now, I myself included, we like to boost or boast about Zurdo. Oh yeah, Zurdo looks badass right now at cruiser, right? Okay, so does Baru Jack, right? Some say that Zurdo Ramirez was humbled, and because of his loss to Bivo is the reason why he's a lot better at cruiserweight. Same thing could be said about Baru Jack when he lost against I forgot the guy he lost, man, back in like 2013. His first like TKO loss, right? That he lost in the first round. It was on Showtime. I could say because of that loss is what humbled Baru Jack and what made Baru Jack stronger and became a champion when he beat Anthony Durrell, who had beaten Sakio Bika, right? So guys, please, man, if you guys think I'm trolling, okay, then hey man, take some time out and troll with me. Who knows? Maybe by trolling with me, you might actually wake up and like, oh wait a minute, were we really trolling? Nah, Cuerpo got a point. Angel got a point. And what do belts do for guys? Belts give you leverage, guys. All right. And unfortunately, you got softies right on boxing saying that Benavidez' current leverage with having that belt is what gives him what opportunities at 175. Guys, man, they extorted Bivol off of that belt. I keep trying to tell you guys, and you guys know I'm making sense. Why do Bivol and Beterbiev, why do they need to see Benavidez? The PBC stole that belt from their series. Both Bivol and Beterbiev proved they were champions. They proved that they were undisputed champions at 175. So they need to entertain unification again from a belt that was stolen from their series. In other words, let me re-put it like this. Let's say if you're a diehard Bivol fan, or if you're a diehard Beterbiev fan, right? By stealing a belt, like for in other words, let's imagine that Bivol and Beterbiev, right? If they still had that belt, and let's say it wasn't a trilogy, let's say it ended at the rematch. Okay? Bivol right now, yeah, he could defend against Benavidez, but he also has the option, because he's entertained them before, he has the option going from undisputed from 175 up and fight a guy like Opataya. Opataya, who's been in interviews, has acknowledged the fight with Bivol. Bivol too. My boy, what's his name? Carl. Carl acknowledged this too. My guy Carl on the Rapstar platform channel. He too has heard videos of Bivol acknowledging a fight with Obataya. We've heard Beterbiev entertain fights at cruiserweight. We've heard Bivol entertain a rematch with Sudo Ramirez at cruiserweight. He said, why not? We all know they're all down to fight. So the point is, if they've already had success at 175, they've already made the bread at 175, they became undisputed at 175. Why not fulfill and boost their resume by beating the guys moving up at cruiserweight for more title opportunities than to be pressured into doing more business with the PBC with Benavidez for a belt that was stolen from their series? Most of you guys would agree. And trust me, if you guys all had successful businesses and some fool came and did arson on your business and blew it up, or any I don't know, it doesn't have to be arson, but I'm trying to make a point that when you maliciously interfere with the value of a series or a brand, we could call that being undisputed right at 175. Why are you going to do a favor to the people that maliciously took your belt to do business with them? Why would you do that? It makes no sense. So with all that being said right now, if that's true, right, then what's the holdup at 175? And let's imagine the Callum Smith fight don't happen. All right, so maybe you guys want to see a fight with Anthony Yard and Benavidez. I think that's a good fight. I prefer that than the Callum Smith fight. I just don't think that fight's going to happen either. Eddie Hearn already made an offer to the Benavidez side before he had the green belt. So what? Now that Benavidez has the green belt, now Benavidez and the PBC have more leverage over Hearn's initial offer? You think Hearn likes that? Did Benavidez fight for that belt? It was just giving it to him, right? So right now we got promoters fighting, right? PBC and Hearn fighting or doing negotiations, and then one side just gets a belt. You think Hearn thinks that's fair? Again, negotiations right here, but one side just gets a belt without fighting for it. Who now has the more leverage in those negotiations? Obviously, it's the PBC. You think Hearn wants to acknowledge that? That's what you call pure politics, man. So right now, if you're a true Benavidez fan, how do you shut everybody up? Right? How do you shut everybody up? Where now you become like legit leverage. You go and dethrone Badu Jack. Guys, don't be afraid, man. I mean, again, maybe some fans really do believe that Badu Jack can beat Benavidez, man. I think some of you are scared. Really. Right? So if Badu Jack were to beat Benavidez, maybe that affects maybe the trolling that a lot of these diehard Benavides fans have been doing for the past couple of years, right? That's what it is? You don't want to see him lose? Or what about Surdo Ramirez? You don't want that fight either? Because believe me, that's a hard fight for Benavides. So, if Benavides' camp are already calling out Surdo, right? If they're down for that fight and you want it just a little bit later on, hey man, you might as well fight Baru Jack then. Get Baru's belts, and now you can unify with either Opataya or Surdo Ramirez. And by the way, guys, don't get too morbid on it. Bivol's gonna see the guys up at cruiserweight. Better Beef's gonna see the guys up at cruiserweight. It's a good time in boxing, you know. What else is there to prove at 175? You know, I know Ben Shalom's got those other fighters, right? That Ryo Part and what's his name, Chamberlain, if I recall, and then we've got Chris Bidham Smith again. Ah, that's another fight that I had mentioned before. Check it out. Check it out, guys. I'm so glad I remembered that. Let's say we don't get Anthony Yard or we don't get the Callum Smith fight, right? Who knows? You might get Callum Smith versus Yard first. Check it out, guys. We can get Benavides versus Chris Bidham Smith. That's a badass fight too, man. Again, because we said that Benavides has got to stop a guy like Callum Smith, right? He can't go to full 12, man. Or else he's going to get trolled. I don't know. Fans are just going to make fun of Benavides because that's what Canelo did, right? Dominance performance over Callum Smith. Or at the very least, all right, even if that fight went the full distance, if Benavides were to knock down Caleb Smith at least once, but better twice, then we can pick it up some steam at 175 for Benavides, right? That's better justifications, right? Or how about this? Benavides beats Callum Smith, stops CBS in a manner that Surdo Ramirez couldn't. So now that puts more pressure on Golden Boy. Now, damn, Oscar's thinking, damn, the Surdo now he's really got to see Benavides because the way Benavides beat Chris Bidham Smith. All right, all right. This now it's time to make the fight. You see. So right now, I think the PBC and Benavides they have a lot of good options. They have a lot of good options at cruiserweight. Again, guys, they already mentioned Surdo. I recommend dethrone Baru Jack first, or because Baru Jack is occupied right now, right? Because he's got to fight. He's gonna fight under the Canelo undercard, right? Oh man, and I hope. I don't want to open up another Pandora's box if Canelo gets the Baru Jack fight, because I'm gonna be making fun of you guys, man. Really. Baru Jack steals a fight with Canelo steals a fight from Benavides in fighting Baru Jack. I'm gonna make fun of you guys, really, for making fun of fans that don't know the state of boxing, don't know the benefits for David Benavides, right? So again, Benavides dethrone Baru Jack, maybe make a defense against Chris Bidham Smith, accept an offer, or not accept an offer, but that would be cool to see David Benavides defend his WBC cruiserweight belt against a guy like Chris Bidham Smith. So that way he gets another active fight at cruiserweight, and then he could unify with the other guys. Why not? Those are all good fights, guys. So, again, man, Badu Jack, decent resume. I don't know, man. You guys help me out, man. I think some of you fans get too caught up. You don't really focus on alternative solutions in the matchmaking that benefit David Benavides. You guys really don't see those benefits. You guys want Callum Smith? I did too. Believe me, I've been saying it for months. A fight with Callum Smith would be great. But guess what, guys? Guess what? In those months, in recent news, Baru Jack was reinstated as WBC Cruiserweight Champion. A situation that I've been talking with other cats for months. in other live streams, I would always ask, "Yo, what's up with the WBC at cruiserweight? Yo, what's up? What's up?" Because we knew that Badu Jack, Jap, Badu Jack was a champion in recess. We knew that, but now he's fully reinstated, guys. Now we can get clear unifications at cruiserweight. If it's not Obatai and Surdo soon, right? Now Badu Jack's in the mix. These stupid ideas of saying that Badu Jack is old, guys, man. Badu Jack is older than Beterbiev, right? And some of you guys are saying that Beterbiev is going to hang up his gloves after this trilogy. Why would he do that? He's younger than Badu Jack. Okay, so let's say Beterbiev loses to Bivol in this trilogy. Would you guys want Beterbiev to choose Benavides for another belt? I mean, that's a big money fight, right? But guess what? Riyadh season might want to do, because he's a Muslim, Beterbiev, to fight for a cruiserweight title for the WBC, right? You might get that. Turkey might want that. Will Suleiman bend over to that idea? Sorry, I said bend over. That sounds nasty, but will he acknowledge it? Will he accept it, Suleiman? I think so. Why not? Right? That's what I got on this, man. I don't know. Maybe some of you a bit confused, but I already justified Badu Jack's, his run at 168, 175, and then, at cruiserweight, you know, beating guys like Cleverly, beating guys from the past like Darrell, knocking out Macabu. These are legit wins, guys. These are legit wins. All right, over former champions. Even though Macabu and what's his name, Tony Bellew were fighting for a vacant strap, right? But still, it's something. You're fighting for a title, and Macabu earned his stripes to get there, right? As Tony Bellew did, as Badu Jack. So please, man, don't downplay Badu Jack. Anyways, that's what I got on this one, man. And hopefully you guys see the light. Again, be skeptic, be pessimistic about Benavides' run at 175, guys, because I think a lot of these fights are not going to happen. And in the end, you guys are going to thank me because I'm telling you ahead of time. Really. Really, really. Anyways, that's what I got for this one on Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.